Scalping, right? Here's the reality of scalping. Most traders, they focus looking for the perfect setup, sitting and waiting hours on end to find themselves actually missing trades, or worse, forcing something out of boredom. Now that's not trading, that's just gambling with extra steps. Now scalping changes that. Scalping makes sure that you really focus on that one specific scenario in the market. When you see that, you're gonna be like a sniper, getting in and out quick. Today I'm gonna show you a scalping strategy that actually works, which don't require you to be on the charts for multiple hours at a time. And it's also gonna solve the issue of not having enough trades for those of you who have issues looking for trades. And let me prove it to you in just 5 trades that happened consecutively this week. Before we begin, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell. Okay, right here I have the Aussie CAD on the 15-minute time frame. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you are trading it on a lower time frame, hence the word scalping. You don't want to be in front of the charts all the time. So that's step number 1, being on the lower time frame. In this case, I am on the 15-minute time frame. Step number 2, look for breaches in the market. Okay, in this case, what I mean by breaches is market structure that breaks a high or a low or a range. So in this case, I want to pull your attention to this area right here. We have a move that went down aggressively towards the downside, okay? And that's what you want to see in a market breach. A strong, powerful move towards the downside, and in this case, it cleared this low right here. So that's step number 2, making sure that you have a strong breach towards either direction. So once that has happened, what you're gonna do is mark out an SNR right around here, okay? It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be around that area. Once that has happened, the third step would be to go down to a lower time frame. In this case, we're gonna use the multi-time frame analysis to trade this strategy. If you haven't checked the video out, I actually made a video on multi-time frame analysis, which you can check it out right here. Okay, so once you have done that, you would go down to the 5-minute time frame to look for your entry. And I'm gonna show you exactly what I look for on the lower time frame. Okay, so right here, we are at the 5-minute time frame. Your goal on the lower time frame is to wait for a pullback back into the support equals resistance area and wait for the pullback to change direction. Okay, basically looking at this move right here, making higher highs and higher lows. Stop making higher highs, making lower lows, and then capitalizing on this move towards the downside. So exactly how that's gonna look like, it's gonna look something like this. Okay, right now the higher highs and higher lows sequence is still coming in. We are at the SNR. Okay, that's very, very important to me. I want to see price pulling back into the support resistance area. Once it has done that, I'm gonna start paying attention and see if we are gonna start making higher highs. In this case, we are seeing this move stopping once and then twice at the SNR area. This is potentially the area where the first lower high is forming. Once I've seen something like that happening, what I'm gonna do is put in my entry right there, stop loss above, and then taking it down to the recent low. If this trade were to perform, it would be a 1.94R profit. Okay, that's almost a 2R profit. So we'll play this out and see how it goes. Market stalls sideways a little bit, pushing down, still stalling sideways. We are not in drawdown. Things are looking very, very decent. A little bit of a pullback, minor gaps, boom, take profit. Okay, just like that. And this trade happened on a Monday. Okay, so I'm gonna take you from Monday to Friday and show you exactly how many trades are there on the lower time frame if you use this strategy. So in this case, we have a 2R profit. Let's round that up to 2R. And this trade happened on Monday, the 15th of September. Okay, it's very important that when you're trading strategies like this, you want to make sure that you get in and out quick. Notice the target that I'm aiming for is only at the recent low. I'm not trying to hold this trade for a long time, because what I'm trying to do here is not to swing trade. The goal here is not about holding on to a trade hoping that it's going to change my life. The goal here is making sure that I get in and out quick and compounding all the rewards I'm able to make from scalping just like this. Okay, so moving on to the next day here on, again, the same time frame, which is the first prerequisite, making sure that you're on the lower time frame, in this case 15-minute time frame. And moving on to step 2, looking for a breach of the market. Now, we don't have a strong breach, but we do have a breach that went far lower than the last lower low that was made here. So So when that happens, I would look at that area and see what price is going to do as we pull back into that area. And as you can see right now on the 15-minute time frame, things are looking like we are getting close to the SNR. So when that happens, the third step would be going down to the lower time frame. In this case, again, the 5-minute time frame, and let's have a look at the pullback that's coming in, right? We are making higher highs and higher lows into the area, and we're not really at the breach area just yet. I want to see if the breach area is going to respond. So if we play this forward just a little bit, we see a huge rejection. In this case, we are making our first lower low situation. If we really mark out the lows, we have the lows here, 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 and then here, all the time making higher lows. First time ever we're making lower lows. Once that has happened, what I'm going to do is making sure that I get in on this trade with a stop loss above. And once the price pulls back into this area right here, I want to anticipate that I'm getting in on the next lower high for price to push down. That's the goal right here. So let's see if we actually get that price action. I'm gonna pull this a little bit further, and again, the goal is to get out at the recent low, getting in and out quick in the market. In this case, if this trade does perform, we are looking at another 1.95 R. In this, rounding that up to 2 Rs. So I'm gonna play this forward and let's see how things unfold. We really see a lower low coming in now. Let's see if we really get a test back into our entry. Once that has happened, boom, there we go. We got our test and we see some rejection. There's no drawdown. We go immediately into profit. Let's see, boom. All right, there we go, take profit. Now, the exact reason on why I want to get in around here is to make sure that I'm getting it in at a decent price. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm chasing the market. It's always better to anticipate your entry than chasing your entry, okay? Another way of trading this would be to wait for price to come up into that area and see what happens here, right? In this case, if we do see rejection and slowdown forming our next lower high, our lower high compared to this high, you could also get in right around here with your stop loss above, take profit at the lows right there. That's also another possibility. However, in this case, we are on Tuesday. So far, we have racked up 2 hours on Monday, 2 hours on Tuesday, okay? So let's move forward here and let's see what happened on the next day. Okay, so on Wednesday, the 17th of September, what we actually have here is a breach to the upper side, okay? Earlier, before, we were looking at breaches towards the downside, and each time the breach goes towards the downside, things are looking pretty strong, right? We have a strong breach here. The second breach here wasn't looking that strong, but it traveled a far distance. And then afterwards, we were going down in a downtrend. Now on Wednesday, we breached towards the upper side. I want you to really be careful with situations like this. The reason for that is because you don't want to be counter trending. The rule within UF trading is making sure that we are always following our bigger players, our big boys, the institutional players, the players with a lot of money, basically. When you're going with the wave, it's usually much easier. When you're going against the wave, it's going to get tricky. On Wednesday, we have a tricky situation where we are going against the wave, okay? The breach that I'm looking at right here are these highs where we breached above. And I can really look at where the last little breach happened, which is right around here, and we came and held above these highs. So once we have found acceptance like that, I'm looking at this area and thinking, all right, what's gonna happen if price pulls back? If price pulls back, can I get in and out quick for a very quick buy? You don't want to overstay your welcome, especially when you're counter trending. So let's see what happens next. We start getting a very sharp move towards the downside, almost telling us that this trade is not going to perform anymore. Because remember what happened the first and second time. The way that the pullback comes in, it's not strong, right? It's relatively weak. In this case, the next pullback that came in on the second trade, it came up in 2 legs, right? 1 leg, 2 leg. This same thing here, 1 leg, 2 leg towards the upper side. I'm looking at the candlestick here and I'm thinking to myself, the pullback doesn't look too strong. In this case, we have a very strong pullback towards the downside. That raises a bit of concern, right? If I'm looking for a buy, I want to make sure my buyers are strong, right? So let's see what happens next. Okay, we have an immediate strong reaction from the buy side and we came and reclaimed this breach area. In this case, we know we're on the 15-minute, right? We have a breach towards the upper side, and let's now go down to the lower time frame and really dissect the pullback. Okay, on the lower time frame, we can clearly see a strong momentum pushing towards the downside, making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, and lower lows. Okay, now we have a first push towards the upside here, and then a second push towards the downside. This could be the end of the lower low sequence. Now, I don't want to get too aggressive here because things are looking fairly strong. But as soon as this thing breaks towards the upside, showing that buyers are still around, now I'm getting interested. Okay, now I'm looking at this as, we have made what looks like a push towards the upside, a higher low. If we are able to make the next higher high and a pullback, that's a buy I want to get in. But I also know I want to get out quickly. I don't want to overstay my welcome. My exit is going to be at the recent high. So let's see what's going to happen here. We have a next push up towards the upper side. This does look like the next higher high that's forming. What you could potentially do is get in around areas like this, stop loss below that zone, and then taking your profit to the recent high. Now this trade do not have a 2R risk to reward. We're just looking at a 0.95R trade, rounding that off to 1R. In this case, I would still consider looking at this trade as a potential safe trade to take just because my buyer's response was very, very strong. So let's see what's gonna happen next. Okay, we get a little bit of a drawdown, price holding, reclaiming that area, now in profit, so holding sideways slightly, testing the zone one more time, and boom, there we go, reaching target, just like that. Okay, again, this is not a trade to write home about because it's not a huge R gain, but hopefully by now you are able to see that there is trades every single day as long as you're able to spot the breaches in the market and going down to the lower time frame and look for your potential pullback for your entry. In this case, we are on Wednesday and we have racked up a total of 5R. One trade per day. Okay, so let's move on right now and let's have a look at the fourth trade. The fourth trade happening the very next day. Okay, so right now we are on Thursday, 18th of September, and we have a breach towards the downside. Now, this breach I'm looking at is breaching this whole area of lows right here. So you better bet that's a strong breach. And the way that the breach came down, the sellers were coming down pretty hot and decent. Okay, once that has happened, we move on to our third step, which is going down to our lower time frame and we dissect the pullback. Right, so we're gonna go down to the 15-minute right here and let's see how the higher highs and higher lows are coming into our support equals resistance area. Right, now we are able to see this higher high and higher low forming, and right now it almost looks like things are slowing down and this could potentially be the next lower high. So I'm gonna play this forward just to see how things are gonna develop. Right, so far things are still holding in this area, not able to make higher highs. And when you see something like that, you want to pay very, very close attention. All right, at this stage, you can sort of bet that this trade is not going to go up anymore and the sellers are really holding their grounds. Because if I zoom in here, you can clearly see what's actually happening with the buyers right here. Buyers are trying to make a new high here, right? From this higher highs and higher low sequence. But as soon as it reaches this zone, two things are occurring. First thing is very strong selling reaction. Okay. Second thing is, every time the buy tries, there is resistance from the sell side. Resistance, 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 and then even here on this bar, it's still showing that sellers are still resisting buyers going up. And because I know that I have a strong breach on the 15-minute time frame, and because I know the lower time frame is slowing down, this is a risk that you can take to get in on the sells. So what we are going to do is pretty much just get in on this bar right here, stops above, taking it down to the recent low. Again, we are looking at approximately a 2R gain. So let's play this forward just to see how things are gonna develop. All right, still holding sideways, still very good reaction from the sell side so far. Okay, are we reaching target? Holding grounds here. We're coming up for a test. Let's see what's gonna happen here. I'm gonna extend this further. Boom, there we go, hitting target right there. Okay, now pay close attention to what happens next. We immediately have one last pushback into the upper side and then crash. Okay, if you are a little bit conservative, you can opt for the type of entry I was just talking about earlier, where you wait for price to pull back into this area right here, this support equals resistance, right around there, and see what's gonna happen, right? See, as we pull back into that area, we see another strong reaction candle right there. That's a confirmation once again that tells you buyers are not making any more higher highs and that we are making the next lower high. That could also be another entry if you do not want to get in aggressively right there. Okay, so on Thursday, we are looking at another 2R. So the total right now, the pool of profits from Monday to Thursday, we are looking at a total of 7 Rs. Let's move on and let's have a look at the last trade of the week, which is going to be on Friday. Okay, as you can see, we are clearly going back into a downtrend now. And when we are in a downtrend, I always prefer trading with the trend, making sure that if I'm looking for a breach, I want to look for a breach that's following the trend, not like the trade that we were looking at on Wednesday. Because see what happens. As soon as it reaches the high, it just starts to turn around. If you're scalping and you're not taking your profit quickly, right? But anyway, let's have a look at this particular trade that happened on Friday, and we have a breach down through these lows right here. This particular low and this low, as well as this low here. So I'm looking at a strong breach towards the downside, and this is happening on Friday. Let's look for a pullback and see what's gonna happen afterwards. So things are pulling back at the moment. We are coming into the level very, very closely and very, very slowly. That's something I really prefer. So once that has happened, we're gonna go down to the 5-minute time frame and really look for the uptrend on the lower time frame to turn around. So we are in that area right now. We see our uptrend forming, right? We see higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. So let's play this forward and see how high is this trade gonna go. Now, bear in mind, I do not want price to go any higher than my support equals resistance zone, because if it goes too high up, that might be telling me the market is doomed for a reversal. And I do not want to see that. What I want to see is price reacting off the support equals resistance area and turning around in that zone. So one more time, we are looking at this pushing up and up, making higher highs and higher lows. Let's see what next candle is going to do here. Okay. And what we have here is a push towards the upside and an immediate rejection all the way back down. Once that has happened, now what you can do is getting in on a pullback. And because this move is that strong, I'm not anticipating that price is going to come all the way back up here for an entry. Because what I'm expecting is price to make the next lower high. The question is where, okay? And because this move is that strong, it's gonna be illogical for us to expect a move all the way back up here. So in situations like this, just look for the closest support equals resistance area, in this case here, and then you can start looking for your entries there once price pulls back. So what you can do is put your entry limit order right here, stops above, taking this trade down to the recent low. So let's see if we actually get a pullback into that area. Okay, so we have a quick move towards the upside, but not really going any further. Is price gonna go down? All right, boom, we're filled. Price is holding still, not really going to our profits yet, still holding. Are we going to, boom, there we go, reaching target, okay? And that right there is a 1.3R profit. Adding to the pool of the entire week, we are looking at a total of 8.3R profit from scalping the markets, just taking one single trade every single day. Okay, so hopefully by now you understand that you don't need to stare at the markets every single day for 10 to 12 hours a day, right? All you really need to do is look for breaches in the market and then start looking for pullbacks on the lower time frame. Generally, in cases like this, a trade will play out in 1 to 2 hours, very quickly. Now, I specifically did not use the 1 minute time frame because using the 1 minute time frames can sometimes be very tricky, especially with spreads. So if you're looking to scalp the market, this is the best time frame to use. 15 minutes as your higher time frame and 5 minutes as the lower time frame. Now, hopefully this will also speak to anyone out there who's trading on the higher time frame and they're looking for something to do on a daily basis. This is a strategy that you can add to your toolbox to make additional profits every single day. If you like what you have been watching, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comment section below, what type of scalping strategy do you actually use and how are you getting along with it? I'm curious to see, I'm curious to hear. And having that said, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, bye for now.